Jumbo Jumbo, welcome to Anything Goes podcast. We're back to your faces like face masks, yo, but we're not praying for anything. But my name is Lee.
My name is Linda.
You should love this episode. Anyway, guys, we were just speaking about first time stories or the first time we interacted with was just periods. Let me start with Ruel before we even get into mine, because I realized the moment Nilianza emotions were high. When did you first interact with,
Not gonna lie, I've been hearing about menstrual hygiene, right? Or let's just say menstrual health. And the first time I got to experience it was a while back. I think it's sometime early this year. We were at a hotel, how we have these meetings and all that. So it was at night. I was having a habit which I've been trying to quit, that is smoking. So the only place you could be able to smoke was at the rooftop, right? So I'm just there having my cig. It was, I think, at around midnight or something, like rich people things where you're in your robe, and then you're like the balcony, you're leaning over.
You're just about to tell us looking at the beach somewhere.
No, this was in Nairobi. So you're looking at the night sky, you're looking at the lights.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I see a young lady, she's really, really in distress. She's on call. But me, I'm like, that's a you problem. It's not my problem. So, but she was really, really distraught about what was happening. But so after she finished the phone call, she approached me and then we started having this small conversation. At first, I was like, please don't talk to me. Do not talk. I don't want to talk. It's midnight. How are you talking at midnight? So eventually she just said, I need your help. I think my period just started and I don't have any pads or sanitary towels. And guys, she had on white jeans, so yeah. And then she was like, can you please just check and then tell me if everything is okay? So I was like, okay, it's cool. And yes, her period had started. So she was really she was uncomfortable. She was not because where we were at the hotel and where her home is, it's quite a distance. So she wanted, so I just offered, like, you know what, can I go buy you some pants? Or can I go buy you some towels and all that? You could chill in my room. I can go get them for you. And then we can move on. So I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool. But then again, now when we went to the hotel room, she was like, no, I won't stay here because, okay, yes, I didn't know her size. But the pants that
Yeah, the pants.
Yeah, the pants. I didn't know what what was her size, right?
We clearly were thinking about the pants, right?
well, I'm just saying, so we eventually I loaned her because she had a really nice fluffy top which was not covering. So I gave her one of my t-shirts. Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite t-shirts. But I gave it to her and then we went out. So we went to Yaya, we left Yaya, we went to Prestige. So we were just checking which available 24-hour shopping mall was open. And then we were told, like, you know what, you need to go to Lavington. I'm like, hey, Tana Lavington, that's quite a distance considering, like, to Kapatungong Road. So eventually we just settled on, we went, bought her the sanitary towels and then a cab and then she went back home. So I guess that was like my first ever experience when it comes to like her
First-hand experience in
menstruation. Yes, first-hand experience. Thank you, my brains. So, and I guess it was really, it was an eye opener, right? It's because we've been talking about it, how we make things awkward, and what I really loved about the experience was that she didn't approach a lady. Of course, there were lady waitresses in the restaurant, there were lady guests in the restaurant, but she approached a dude. Not many chicks can be able to do that, considering that.
And how was that for you? I mean,
first, okay, I was so confused. I was so confused. But you're like, okay, yes, I've been hearing about these things, but now I'm experiencing it. So, what do I do? First thing in my head was like, okay, let me just go get you some pads. I was so confused because I'm like, I do not know how to handle such a situation. I mean, most times guys don't know how to handle things, you know. Guys don't know how to handle things. So it was very, very confusing. And the first thing I was like, okay, let's get you cleaned up and then let's get you the towels. After that, I don't know what to do. You know, you do not know what to say. You do not know how you can be able.
You're not trying to be very careful.
Exactly. You know, you're trying to be a gentleman and all that. But it ain't working. You know, you don't want to say something which can piss someone off, or you want to say something which can come off as offensive. So you just try to become so accommodative. You try to be so at ease and calm with all that. So the best way I thought about doing it and going about it was just telling her about herself, asking her about herself, just because we do not know each other literally. And it took us like, I think 30 or 45 minutes before I even knew her name. Or she knew mine, right? So I didn't kind of like go off straight savage and just like come off as the hitting type. I just wanted to make her feel comfortable. I just wanted to make her like, you know what? Yes, it's normal. It happened. And there's nothing for you to feel ashamed of. You know, I mean, of course she was not ashamed because, I mean, she approached a guy, a total stranger, whom she has no relation with, you know. But now, you know, it gets to a point where you might start something and then you're like, yo, what did I just do? Right?
Because, you know, like most guys, this is the perfect opportunity to become a deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
Do you know how deadbeat dads, let me go get a packet of cigarettes. I'll be right back.
Exactly.
And that's
how they left.
That's the last time you saw them.
Exactly.
Yeah. But itakuwa a story somewhere and itakuwa dina ending and it was just an interaction of like few seconds. That was quite deep. Linda.
Yes.
Yours, of course.
You want to hear mine?
Yeah.
Why don't we go to you?
Was yours personal kwanza or you're like many in your family and maybe sister and alipanda kwanza, then you were freaked out at some point?
In my family we are 3 girls, but I think my experience was the first that I experienced firsthand.
You're the eldest?
No, I'm the youngest.
So wengine watu walikuwa wameficha white?
Imagine. Okay, I'll call feature white per se. Let's just say I never got myself into thinking of it that way. It was never an issue. It's never something that
they had spoken about it.
No, I don't think so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Walikuwa wameficha white proper. But anyway.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm quite huge. Mimi ni mrefu sana.
You know. In height, you know.
Okay, let me just get you back. Let me get you back home. Okay, so my first menstruation story was very exciting, so to say, because I think there are people who develop earlier and there are people who develop a bit later. So for me, generally, as you can see, hata kuongeza nyama, I've been growing a bit slowly. So went to boarding in primary.
Good pace though.
So it's not like my sisters never talked about it, but when I come to think about it, we were never really together at the same time. Because in primary I went to boarding and they were in high school. So tukikupatana home, they are over for midterm and I'm not around. So primary went and then we went to high school. And when you go to high school, there is a list of items that they ask you to come with, and they tell you bring buckets and mattress and bed sheets and sanitary towels.
Very sad list.
Yeah, things like that. So when we got into Form 1, we went into the dormitories and kila mtu alikuwa anafungua trunk. I could see, watu wamebeba pads hapa. And people were using and mine were not used for like Form 2. So I kept talking to these girls in my cubicle and telling them, mimi nimengoja manze.
Wacha.
Yeah.
So it was like a FOMO or something.
Yeah, it was like FOMO. Because it was like, I can't wait to start using pads. And the good thing is that I had experiences where my mom had taught us how to like place it on the innerwear, and people who are coming to school, people who are coming to teach about menstrual hygiene were doing that. So that was a no-brainer for me. It's not like I was worried about how am I going to use them or how do I go about the whole hygiene things, how many times do I shower. So that was an issue. The only issue for me was munakuja lini.
When do you start?
When are you starting? And so I think after the first midterm we went home, and when people come back from midterm wanakuanga na stories, it's like, you know, we went here and here. He was like, you know what, you guys, they came.
They showed up.
Yeah, and I think thereafter it's still been exciting. so to say.
So how is it for a girl to get their periods? I remember there's a time when we were doing the menstrual hygiene month, and I asked a question: if it is considered a milestone when a girl gets her first periods, whether it is or whether it's not. But like, how is that experience? And for that moment when you got them, was it like scary? It was like, shit, I am now a woman, yo.
Okay, I think it's a different experience for different people because circumstances are different. So for mine, it was exciting. I had the resources to manage my I had the resources to manage my menstruation, but for some people it can be a bit scary. So when they come, so for example, there was a time we were talking about girls in Pokot, and people who may not have resources might find it a bit scary. Because one, you don't have the resources, and if you don't have the resources, chances are also very high you do not have the information on how to manage your menstruation and hygiene with regards to even how do you take care of yourself moving forward, how do you interact with people of the opposite sex, things like that. So I think for some people it's not the excitement of I'm finally a woman. It's just like, oh, they're here.
I'm normal.
Yeah, I'm normal.
Or I can finally,
So if you're asking in the sense of the way boys get initiated, it's a big deal. I don't think so.
No, let me tell you.
I guess it's kind of like wet dreams.
Yeah.
Though I've never had a wet dream, but I've never had a wet dream.
Okay.
I think I missed that stage in my life.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess for some, they feel so excited about having it. Like you hear these things in books. I think it is in classics where guys are taught about wet dreams and the menstrual flow. So when you're experiencing all these body changes and then everyone is experiencing them, and then you don't. So it's kind of like refreshing to a point. It's kind of relieving. Okay, don't know the feeling because I've never experienced it.
Shit, man, I can shoot now. Yo, aim, cock.
No,
shoot.
I don't think it's that much of a... It's not like... You see the way boys break their voices and you're like, finally I can hit on this girl. Finally I can talk loud. No, I don't think it's to that extent. It's just as Ruel said, it's just, I'm normal. So how do we figure it out? And in any case, it's not that exciting moving forward because some people have dysmenorrhea. It's period pain, and that's really bad. Some have extreme pain, some don't have. So it's not... once, like... Every week during the month, it's just, they're here.
But there's some who have those period pains on a daily. Or
now it's dependent. There are people who have it on the first 3 days when your period starts and then going down and then in Kiisha. Then there are people who your period just starts and you have no idea. And then towards the last days,
it hits.
And there's those who totally don't experience pain.
Yes, there are people who don't
experience
pain.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I am also learning because, what we know is, number one, periods come with moods. Now I'm speaking now as a guy, as a dude. Periods come with pain, come with attitude, come with mood swings. And also now pain, in as much as we will never ever get the concept of the pain that comes with it, but we know that there's a pain that is also experienced. But also for first time experiences. Before even I go on, FOMO is fear of missing out for those who might have hung there. But how guys and dudes get to interact with even the hard period is by chance. Because it is never a process or a phase that you go through your life and, for instance, how circumcision comes, by the time you're getting to class 8, or for the Jews, by the time is it 8 days old or 12? By the time, the circumcision coming, and at this point, with periods, akuna your biological clock for guys. So it's... either for instance, in school, around class 7 there, girls will be, taken out and it's a whole afternoon session from around 2 to around 4. Then when they come back, these two blue packets that they
Or
are carrying.
or they hide it.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
would actually
they would hide it literally.
Yeah.
I mean, for you to see, you must have been rowdy as I was.
Or you have to be best
because
friends with that girl.
but for you to be no, okay, or you're rowdy like I was, and you just pick it and yeah, and then they take it and they hide it, and where you see I'm a boy, hata ufai kujua hii.
That's where they went wrong.
Yeah, and you're like,
they went wrong there.
Mbona where you see maneno ya wanaume, you see maneno ya maboy, you just leave it alone. And that is when you interact with periods, but or menstruation, and you don't. And the beauty about is something that's hanging is you don't know if that's menstruation. You just know there's a key thing that looks like blue that and men should not carry. Like and you don't know how it even looks or what it's for. But when now, because I was a prefect back then, so when it's time to get back to class, I remember that's when most people would go to the toilet. So there was this new rule for when the bell rings, the prefects on duty, because there were two ways to the loose. So prefects on duty, the boy and the girl would stand on these two main ways, so that no one passes and everyone goes to class. So girls would choose mine, and wanakuja, and then they tell me, it's that day.
Okay.
And I'm like, ni ile siku. I'm like, but ni ile siku. So I'm like, okay. So then I went to ask now in class stories sasa na my boy, and we had some few girls there. Then there was this dude, Madeno, and he was saying how he has the sisters, and he explained like ni kama experience, and then girls were like wanna confirm, and then he was like, plus every woman gets this. I'm like, no bana, not every woman, because mimi where I'm from, the women that I've interacted with awana. I was like, no, mimi where I come from, women don't experience this.
I haven't seen that.
Like we argued, tulikuwa hadi karibu kupigana, because I'm like, no, because sasa I'm explained damu. Now,
and you're like,
for people who have phobia with blood, kwanza ndo ilinizuilia kwa daktari. Ukweli nilimaliza form 4 nikijua, first I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, then vile nenanga ikishuka
unakuwa patient.
So ikafika mahali vile nimemaliza, the process ni kwanza kwenda KMTC, either I start with nursing tukiendelea juice, ndio. So there was this trip that we were making to Kisumu. Nilikuwa nishaingia kwa space at that time. Then there was this terrible accident that happened, and it involved like 10 vehicles. So there's this guy mwenye his vehicle it was literally crashed from behind. It was just making like noise. So by the time we were taking him out, alikohoa and then akakata like in front. So me, that side itself, like, the blood,
mark me absent.
The blood, kwanza nilisonga. I was so nauseated, by the way, like extremely. Ni batted at a siku puke, but the sight of it, I was like, is this what I am going to be seeing every day?
You must.
Can't be me.
Patient.
And no, I cannot kill myself, Anyway, so coming back, I had to give that background story. For people who are that freaked out with the blood, and then you hear someone kila mwezi bana anatoa damu ka mshahara, I mean, like, it just comes. It was foreign, and you're like, you just grossed out because how? So, and then you're being told someone that that you care about. And I find, like, how?
It doesn't make sense.
You feel like it's intentional now. And you're like, why do you do that?
So, and unaambiwa bana, all women do. And I'm like, no, they don't. Not until baka nikaonyeshwa how a pad looks like, because there's a girl who had in class. Kaonyeshwa hii ndio pad. And inaekango, it's okay.
TMI.
I don't want to know. My friends, until the day I was playing Koploti.
Yeah.
Ball. And then people ziko nje, sindo? So kwa pepa ya maziwa juu ball ilikuja ikadrop hapo juu. So unachukua hivi.
You think something
and then you're like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, what the? And then I saw. Guys, I was traumatized.
Oh, for real?
I swear. Niliweka ball kando. I went and thought about my life. I thought about my life, like where I am, where I'm going. You know, like what this means. Because I'm like, I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
I felt lied to.
Yeah.
Because I defended these people with my life. I fought for you with my life. Like it doesn't happen. Hapo unakaje kwa karatasi ya maziwa. Aje. Unakaje kwa pepa ya maziwa.
You know.
And then you let me find out like that. I was hurt.
You know, actually the big mistake is people make is not including boys in this thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because kama nakumbuka there's a time like we went shopping with my mom. I love just speaking things. And then I'm saying like amechukua the party thing.
Afu nika jif.
Exactly, you know, amechukua, you know. So she took it akaweka kwa the trolley. Yeah, mkono yenye haina wheels, right? Alafu kulikuwa na a female shop attendant hapo. Humst ama nilichukua kitu ilikuwa chini, I think siju kulikuwa na some sort of magazine or something, nikafunika the pad juu. Imagine, you know.
Was you felt embarrassed?
Exactly. You know, I was a kid
at
the time. No, I didn't. I was a kid at the time, right? And so nikiangalia hiyo scenario, because yes, my mom laughed, the shop attendant laughed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, this is just so awkward.
Yeah.
And then so I'm looking at that scenario, and then I'm looking at this chick that I helped recently, right? It's growth, right?
Yeah, it's
so growth. You know, we need to include like boys again in this conversation, because unapata like, say in this scenario where a chick amenda, you know, lovebirds and how lovebirds are, and then in the morning the chick wakes up and then she's soiled. I heard it's called soiled, right?
Yeah.
So she becomes so anakuwa na pressure mingi sana, right? Like the shits be white.
Now they're red.
Now they're red. Na ni kijana, you know, so
red,
the roses are red.
So what will the kijana say? You know, so we need to have that conversation. Like, I mean, it's something which happens.
But I heard that people go into muddy waters, you know? Like they don't mind.
Yeah.
For like dudes.
Yeah.
Like they hear it's coming and they're like, whew, count me in, yo.
Some dramas
I can see your face.
Some dramas are really actually very okay with it. You know, like, what do you want? How do you want me to treat you during this period?
No,
like,
because I heard it is, you know, during that time. I don't know.
I can't relate.
Oh, sure. Okay. Linda.
Yes.
To Fafanulia.
I have no experience, but I find it. Please don't judge me with my opinion.
Yeah,
it's an open space.
But I don't think it's the most hygienic.
Yeah, in terms of hygiene.
In terms of hygiene.
But in terms
I don't
of
think you will do. Now, you know, there are people who will come for you if you use the slightest word, and people will use it against you.
Yeah.
But in terms of hygiene, I don't think so. It all goes down to preference. So people choose to do what they want.
We count you out on that.
Yeah.
But
it's just, no. Because why? I mean, you can just wait for that period.
No, guys, you can also slide in on those comments and just tell us. Usijali, you can open a pseudo account.
Tell us what you think about.
Yeah, you can open a pseudo account and confirm Apo, those who have gone into enchanted waters, how it was.
Yeah.
Was it... Or how but yeah, like how like dudes find out, and even how it is bought, because when I have stories, and funny thing is I didn't know it was that. This one time we're going for a safari, and kabidi we stop at a shop, so nikiendea ginger.
Yeah, I'm a ginger.
Ginger easy biscuits.
Sindo ginger nuts.
Isn't it?
Ginger nuts.
Ginger nuts.
Okay, digressing.
So mimi nikibai yangu nikasikia alafu nipele kitu. I'm like,
kitu gani?
Yeah. So ikichukuliwa nikaona inafungwa kwa gazeti, you know, because I was there. And I was like, hiyo ni nini? I was curious back then. Where equals tokapa. Tokapa. Until but no, ninja has seen things. So unaweza imagine easy experiences zote. Now bring it into one. This is not to be seen. It is gross to some extent.
Not to be talked about.
Yeah, it is not to be talked about. And most of all,
Tokapa.
it is not for men.
Yeah.
Now, years later, you're coming to interact with a chick, alafu, anaanza kukupigia hizi story. Like, how do you even expect to come mimi? Like, like, how do you expect to engage with me? Like, honestly, you will be pissed because I've had an instance where you're like, what the? So, you're afraid of my, and I'm like, so you start damage control, but it's that ladies, they also like don't understand where the guys come from. Nataka kuita entitlement, but sitaita entitlement, nitaita to expectation, because ladies expect you to know.
I guess
like,
that's wrong though.
Yeah, like, they expect you to know that it is blood, it comes out, it is normal, and
have mood swings.
Well, when they tell you
that,
they will tell you with mood swings. You probably will sleep on the couch or on the floor, or you're sikuongeleshi for like a week. But so you can just imagine, like, you're interacting now with to ako blank, like, purely. What response do you expect? I'm like, yo,
Just stop right there.
Look for your women. Tell them. But that like is so offensive. But now also coming from a guy, you're coming into terms with the concept. Kwanza ni women bleed. Number one. Tusiende mbali. Like, because in our minds, like, unaweza amka, unaweza lala chini, like, weka miguu juu, and maybe it won't come out, it will stay inside, like, that is the physics we use.
Right?
Yeah, but unaambiwa hadi ukilala, it's still like kwanza I hear stories, you can feel it, like those you can.
Yes.
How is
when you cough? Have you seen this TikTok for?
Walai.
But anyway, even when you cough, unasikia tu.
It's like a fat.
It's like a fart. It's like
amehang.
But I shall catch you. So you can feel it.
Like a pee fat. I don't want to use like the whole.
We understand it.
You get. So
especially when it what?
You don't get it?
No, I don't
if you don't get it,
I
forget about it.
But yes, you can feel it.
Yeah.
If you're flowing heavily,
like ni sensation.
When raindrop ikikuangukia unasikianga? Yeah, so you feel it slightly go onto the.
So like, does it come like rain or?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't come like. Actually,
I cannot do
you know
that,
what's funny? It comes in drops. It doesn't come like.
And then you're like, it started, right?
So
it's just a drop, but it's funny. Have you seen things called menstrual cups?
Yeah, I've interacted with the menstrual cups.
It's big. So it goes drop. So by the end of the day, sorry. Oh dear, sorry. So I was saying, if you look at menstrual cups, they are this big. So during a woman's flow, they go in drops, and at the end of the day, it's filled.
Yeah.
So si ati inakujanga tu in drops. Yeah.
Na utapata like your cup imejaa.
Yeah, unaweza pata imejaa. Depending on your flow, there is light flow, medium, and then heavy flow. And then for sanitary towels, if you are a heavy flower, you buy long and thick so that it absorbs.
Emphasis on thick, but
long and thick pads.
Look at this nasty mind.
No, imagine. I'm just putting emphasis. It's your. I'm just putting emphasis. Like if you flow heavy.
But I completely agree with you on the issue of inclusion. I think you have brought out a very important point on when now everything has come and when the dust has already settled in and women are experiencing their menstruation and they want men to now, come in and help. Assume you're living with your boyfriend and you're flowing and you can't go out to buy. And this is someone who has had a very bad experience in terms of the introduction to what menstruation is all about.
From my experience,
then it's going to be a bit of war.
Yeah.
So
from my experience,
from his experience,
exactly.
From experience, yatoka hapa to
exactly.
I fought for you with my life. It's a lot. So I think it's a very important point for on the inclusion of men on matters menstruation and vice versa. Yeah. We don't know if there are things you might find that there is something that men go through na sisi hatujui.
Oh, there's a lot that we go through.
Really?
So I think it's very important.
That you people don't know.
Like?
Well, that will depend.
Developmental issues. Somewhere I read that development issues are not gendered issues, and that is the biggest mistake that we have made as a culture. So
it's a whole spectrum. And if I have understood that correct, it's like, for instance, what Joel has just told us, for him, if I can use that, he never experienced like wet dreams. So it's more of that. They're not gender. They're not
gendered.
They're not
Development
gendered.
issues are not gendered issues.
Yeah, because can I say? Because Mimi, I don't think I can remember my first wet dream experience. I just know I've had many, and sometimes it gets dry in the season, and that is the only let out that you have. Okay. But for most guys, I know it's like the eat, like you, it has happened. But for me, I was grossed out. I don't know things about slimy stuff. Like extremely. I remember bana nilitupadi ongo bana, like you don't want anybody messing around or even.
Wait, how long ago was this? Was it when you were a kid or just recently?
I was a kid, man. Man was exposed.
He's a teacher.
No, teacher
of life.
No, you can call me the shaman. I'm also a wise man.
Master Shifu.
No, I'm telling you. In matters all that regards your life, you can call me on the side.
All right.
Either way. But yeah, when we speak inclusion and when we speak interaction, because you can include me in the conversation or on the conversation, but interacting with it is also a different conversation at the end of the day. Yeah. Because inclusion is, and this I can also count it as inclusion, in school. By the age of 9, by the age of or even 7, girls get their first periods, or that is when their menstruation like starts. Yeah. You've already included me in now informing me in terms of development and in terms of reproductive health. This is when it starts. Then you tell us when it comes, a girl can now become pregnant. And maybe this is when most girls are told, do not play with Lee. And I use that example because people have been told not to play with me. Yeah, even boys.
You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it.
That one has gone like.
This was
but boys, in terms of we will influence other boys badly. But yes, this is when now girls are told, do not play with boys, do not interact with boys. Why? You just don't do it. And the moment you're found at the Kani story, well, for us back then, and I say back then, not disregarding for those who are in their 40s, and 50s, but for us, back then is back then, But for back then, ukipatikana pia, bana,
they just didn't tell us why.
Yeah, unapigwa.
Yeah.
What was the reason?
Exactly. They didn't tell us why.
Yeah, mi nakumbuka mentorship yangu of now being like a boy.
After class 8.
Ni unaambiwa
ama before class 8.
Ukienda kuongelesha dem, jua kuruka first floor.
Wait, what?
What was that?
Exactly. What?
Bana hiyo ni sheria bana.
Wait, ruka okay, I don't understand this.
Ukikatia dem jua kuruka first floor.
Okay.
I still don't get
Clarify.
it.
Bado ampati.
I don't get it.
It is forbidden interacting with a girl. Whatever sort of interaction, hata ikiwa platonic, it is forbidden. Now umeenda kukatia dem, alafu upatane either na mzae, the father or the mother. Concept ya kuruka balcony hapo ndo inaingilia first floor. Because I mean it's to mean just be aware anything can happen anytime. Na ukishikwa bana, you're nobody's son. Utapigwa kama mwizi. So concept ya kuruka balcony is ukisikia mzazi ameingia, whatever outlet iko hapo bana,
use it.
Chomoka nayo. And by the literally by the watu wameruka balcony. What balcony zimerukwa hapa nje, you know.
You really had an interesting childhood. Where by the way, childhood was very interesting.
That's all I'm collecting right now. Lee must have had a very
No, mimi
interesting
nimesema tu
childhood.
balcony zilirukwa. It can be me, it can be my mates, but now you see hizi vitu zote, imagine that just been ni kama 0.1 and then 1.1 1.2 continuously ziko tu hapo under menstruation. Menstruation inafanya pia demas interact na wewe. Na wewe ka boy pia kidogo, because yes uko it is coming as menstruation, but on your end it is coming as alianza. So ufai kumkaribia. Kwake imegonga pregnancy. Wewe kwako hata concept ya pregnancy bado.
You have it in theory.
Yeah, kwanza hata until maybe you start wet dreaming or you have your wet dreams, and even after having them, bado concept your pregnancy like doesn't hit. So you'll just go. But as far as menstruation is concerned, boys, men have been included. Not as to an extent that we might consider it as wholesome, but we have not interacted with it. The point where boys interact with this is with your closest female in your life. Could be your sister at some point, but mostly it is your girlfriend or wife. And trust you, me kitu inaweza toa kwa mwanaume kwa nyumba endeo pad ni mapenzi.
No lie.
Tusidanganyane bwana. Nani mapenzi ile ya nikikuona nazimia.
Mapenzi ya dhati. Si mapenzi ya Nairobi, mapenzi ya dhati. Exactly.
Simple boy anasema gwire ama ndio nini. But
gani hiyo?
Kona ingine anyway, but as in kitu inaweza toa boy kwa hao ni mapenzi. So nasi ati pia ajajua it happens, and when it happens this is what you should do, blah blah blah. I mean, well, for a lady, for a girl atasema, see, it's just getting it. It's just getting the pad. Or for modern men, I call them modern men because we still have like those who are still anchored,
right?
No, yeah, bana.
Why any ladies can be vienyages but no guys? We also have vienyages guys.
That is a conversation that is very controversial.
But yes, when it comes on relating it to like puberty, menstrual like periods, right? It takes, yes, as you said, it takes the education of like a female who's close to the male, right? And it's an initiative on both parties. How I was raised up was not how you were raised up. Me, I was raised up being secluded, not told about this issue.
Yeah, man.
And so now when I come into a relationship, I guess that those are like the things we're supposed to be talking about. Because like for a guy to like ask, what, yes, I hear ladies go through periods, right?
Yeah, and it comes about when she experiences it.
Yes. So how can I be able to help you when that time comes.
That sounds like a therapy session.
It's not a therapy session.
No, I mean, as in Vilometer.
help,
Yeah,
but it's like how do you
how
want
you
to
No, I
you
get
be
you
there.
though. Yeah,
Exactly,
how I can
exactly,
how
exactly.
How do
as
I
a man
deal
I
with
can
you?
be
Yes.
how do I deal with you?
perpendicularly, of course. But anyway, I mean, like how as a guy you can be of help, but this conversations is just like come up.
Mhm.
I think they have started. I don't have my pads here.
Could you get me?
Could you get me?
Mhm.
Me, if you tell me that, Kwanzaa, I think I'm having a cardiac arrest, number one.
For real?
Because I'll just palpate like the heart.
Yeah.
Then I'll ask you. Mbona umeshtuka?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And then you start tracing like the closest shop.
Yeah.
Uh,
Alafu ndo unaendanga unapata hakuna. You have to go to supermarkets, right? So I guess we should kind of like stop having it in a scenario where we should feel bad about either talking about it or even buying it. Because
thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, like when this thing happened with my friend the other time, please, if you're listening to this, please don't text me. I know it's wrong. But well, she wanted the pads themselves to be covered in newspaper, right? First things I was like, you could have just seen it's a guy who bought you pads without question, without biasness or anything. You just know, like, it's something which
It was
is okay,
unconditional.
right? It's kind of like how men find it hard buying condoms in supermarkets.
Yo, do you?
I do.
Wow,
Kwanza
okay.
kuna siku nimenunua and simu yangu ikahang. And
you're
I'm
holding
paying,
them.
yes, and I'm paying
Confidence.
for condoms. Exactly,
Yeah,
you know.
Bana si
Exactly,
tupate
so-
kwa distance, man.
you know, so it's kind of like a same scenario, right? We should not have periods like have people cringe about it. It's just a product which is meant for use. Kama unga, as much as that's good
And
unga.
that is the secret, because as I've like we've all agreed, it's when men interact with it is when it happens, and they will get involved if it's the closest female in their lives. So which brings it to an attitude. So like whenever you when at that particular moment you have a close woman in your life, and you can do this, perspective in a change, attitude in a change. Ndio, now you can get, dude will live and run, go get, come back. So it's an attitude, it's a perception. And so to even like sort out, it's now how best we can address those attitudes themselves, how we can address those is it biases I can also call them, and also the upbringing, and the stories that you're told, and and what they are attached to, and what they are synonymous to. That also, I believe, in matters boys and also for girls as well. But that, when that is like catered for, I believe but say men are quite progressive, you know. But the more it continues, the more men will be.
It's like a very, very perfect example. And I swear, this is not dark humor or anything.
That disclaimer was enough to tell us it's going to be dark.
It's not dark humor,
it's
but,
okay.
We need a torchlight.
but widowers, right?
Yeah.
Single dad. You have 3 girls. And say maybe, it's this kind of families where the aunties are not around or anything. You will have to go and buy them.
Yes.
Once your girls start.
Believe it or not.
Exactly,
You
right?
actually have to have.
And so for dads, again, it becomes, I mean, I'm doing it for my daughters because they need it. They don't have that female figure probably to say they can be able to guide them through it, because maybe, at school there's this, maybe, I'm just looking at it that perspective, right? So if a dad can buy it for their daughters, what's stopping? I mean, she's just your girlfriend, right? So don't make it into a big deal where you let your chick have to go through it alone and then say you're man enough to be protecting her. No, be man enough and also go get her those pads and pay for it. No, we trolley. If you die, you die.
If you die,
Yeah.
You know?
And You want to go?
You can go first and then, because I think mine is just to summarize.
Well, it's the same because I hear we've mentioned inclusion and we've also mentioned interaction, which kind of sums up to engagement, and it's an engagement of both sides, both genders and non-gender conforming, like everyone on the same boat, either youth, either adults, or either, what do we call them? Well, an advancement of adults.
Generation. The older generation.
Well, those ones. Yeah. It's youth engagement as a whole. But then when we speak huge engagement, how then do we engage the youth, and to what extent are we engaging the youth? And also, how seriously are we also engaging the youth, which also serves like a segue into that conversation. But before we go there,
now I just had a question from the perspective of now advocating for this, because most of the time when we have these conversations and we are this side of town,
the urban, that is
the urban
Mm.
town,
Community.
it's not much of an issue. When you're talking about development issues, you want to talk about people who are disadvantaged or not minority, so to say,
Less
but
privileged.
somewhat,
Yeah.
not in terms of knowledge or even resources. So if you want to break the social or cultural barriers around menstruation and menstrual hygiene, what are some of the approaches that you would use other than, just going and engaging the community and telling them, men, you need to be involved? What other creative ways do we think we can, break these barriers? Because I think whether you're in town or in the village, we have noticed we have this common social barrier where we've been raised up to think these are women issues and these are men issues. So how do we break that cultural or social barrier to ensure that we now solve these problems?
this is why I like the era that we're in. Digital generation, the digital era, and I mean everything is just evolving. There's TikTok. I mean, I have seen guys try the period pain simulator. Bana onekeo tumbo, and a man screams his life out.
Yeah.
And you see also a girl and I at the same
like
simulator, the same level, and they're just like,
Just another Tuesday.
yeah. But
sun is shining,
Just another Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right?
life is good.
but in terms of creativity and in terms of new approaches, it is those, because you're making it normal, like in the world of men, because for a man to even accept that simulator hapo kwa mwili asikie vile cramps uskia, and another man watching it, and also kwa wale wamekuwa tempted and they want to try it.
I have.
Have you?
I
How
have,
was it?
actually. I haven't tried it. I want to try
Ndio
it.
hiyo.
Ukipata hiyo mashini tupa.
Nitawatumia very
Yeah.
fast.
Na ndio hiyo. I mean, the influence trickles down and it breaks those barriers that are inbuilt and the negative attitudes that have been attached to the topic itself. So me, I'd say content creation. I mean, we're speaking about periods, about menstruation. So the moment, and it is speaking, but men speaking from their perspective, because hearing it from a woman, it's gibberish.
Another thing. Another thing, probably.
It's just another Wednesday. It's just
Another way we can probably be able to tackle it, because Lee has looked at it from a digital point of view, right? But now not everyone can access TikTok, right?
Yeah.
So, but what most people can do and what most people can be able to have access to is their eyes. Okay, not everyone, yes, but most people can see, right? So we normally had this thing when I was growing up where nilikuwa ninafanya nini. Mimi tulikuwa ninaenda because they were giving people chips and chicken. So you go and watch these Christian movies, right? So if you have such in these two VGGs where you can have people come together, watch a film about it, the pros, it's the why men should be involved, the pros, the cons, if there are any, to just be able to engage them and then have a conversation after on the feelings and the emotions of how they feel. Because, you know, you can have it in, if it's in a local dialect, it's easier to have it in local dialect. So if you have that film umeenda pale kijiji fulani tu mahali tu kule ndani tu mashinani, right? And they can see it. If it's translated in their dialect, they'll understand it. And then just have a forum conversation where guys can be able to interact. That can be a really a good way of even reaching that person when you're kondani kwa kijiji, and tell them, like, you know what, this is what is happening, this is why we need men involved, and this is why we want you to help us understand what you're going through better.
So, and how best then do we involve, or rather, how do we best engage youth in such interventions?
You best engage youth by having them at the forefront of the project, right? Say you approach okay, guy nitaanza kuongelea as an organization.
But you know,
if you approach, say, an organization which majorly deals with like periods, you know, and menstrual health for chicks, let the youth be, if they're doing the film, let the youth be in the film. If they are doing the theater, let the youth do the theater. If they are doing music, let the youth do music, you know. And then after that, have the youth engage with the general population on the effects and feelings about it. Because there's this thing where it's like, wewe ni mtoto unaniambia nini, right?
Yeah.
But if you have it, because it's a project I saw happening a while back, and it was about FGM, which took a similar turn. And, you know, like, men literally spoke up because they're like, we understand, like, men are at the forefront in helping us fighting FGM. So men did not know the pain and the cons that FGM brings to a woman until they had that experience of it all. So if you have it when it comes to like mental health and periods, it can be very beneficial. You know, as much as we're having the general population, let me call that, instead of using old, it sounds bad, but yeah, have the general population and the youth interact. Again, it creates a really, really huge and amazing rapport, in that there is something you know which I don't, and there's something I know which you don't. Because, I mean, guys, not everything is found on Google.
I mean,
you know?
And maybe this is where I get you in. Well, as mentioned, involving the youth, having them participate. But, you know, sometimes, and in our space, we decide to do something, and then we like season and now just add a touch of youth. And by that I mean we just have young people there, or the youth, just because they have to be there, and just because, let it be known, we had youth in this. So, like, to what level is engagement considered engagement of the youth?
When it's meaningful.
And what does meaningful and youth engagement then mean? Where does it even now emanate from?
Okay. Do you want to talk?
Like a serious one, eh?
Okay.
Just tackle it from anywhere.
Meaningful engagement of youth in matters that concern them.
Or is it like when now youth are speaking for the youth? Ndio?
Now,
Most it's when the youth are at the forefront, right? Because here it's where we're talking about involvement. You don't just need me there for a face and not a voice. Having me as a face and a voice, that is,
And also the
meaningful
voice being
engagement.
taken into account.
Exactly. Because when we're talking about youth and being at the forefront of decision making, right? We were having a conversation the other time with a few friends of mine, and we literally realized that there is so much we the youth can do. We talk about engaging the youths. We need the youths to do this. But sasa inafika mahali where you find the youths can only do so much because the decision is not made by youth.
Yeah.
The decision is made by
No,
the old
it's
people,
made
you
for
nimesema.
the youth.
You know,
but yeah,
because you find
It's
that
true.
the youths have been engaged from day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 square decision making. No youth is involved.
I mean, actually, I tell you, I've been in rooms where, man, you speak like you coming off from the consensus or just the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like you have represented until there's an output or there's like something for the meeting to show what happened.
Yeah.
And it's like you are not
It's
even
like you're
there.
not there. And that is
Everything
why
changes.
and that is why young people need to be empowered to understand the difference between being involved, being manipulated, being tokenized, as you're saying, just
Yeah.
being there for the face. If you're empowered enough to tell that I said this and I thought it was very important, and a large group of people agreed that this was going to work for the benefit of young people, and we are not seeing this being taken into account, or some results have not been produced. And even if results have not been produced, no one has bothered to explain why. Then young people can take the people who have made the decisions into account. There's some sort of accountability, and you are empowered enough to understand that you can hold someone accountable and ask, why did we had this forum and we talked about this? What did you do about it? Because I think what the experience that I've had with young people being involved in organizations or in key decision-making processes is that they feel like it's a privilege to be involved. Yet, most development issues that involve young people are for you. In any case, it's like you are the person we are supposed to be listening to. So young people need to be empowered to understand the difference between involvement, like just something that is not meaningful involvement. Because sometimes it can be very easy to deceive you into feeling like you're being involved.
Yeah.
And you see right now you've given the example of you say something, unaongea yako yote, umevalia suti,
Unatoka na connections kwa hiyo meeting.
unatoka na connections,
Suited,
you've taken
especially.
numbers, and you feel like,
Right.
that meeting was impactful. Back unaenda social media, today we talked about this, that, and the other. And then I feel like young people also need to be, let me not use competent, but I think you need to also take up the responsibility,
Proactive.
being proactive enough to follow up. See it after mmeongelelea hii kitu about a decision. Even within our organizations, you've talked about this and you don't even take time to ask, hi, how are things going on? Especially now, and you need to know your position also. See it when youth to unauliza vitu zimefika wapi.
Aje sasa watu.
Kuna opportunities being there, and young people having the opportunity to access them. And also there's you as a young person as to why you're involving yourself in the first place. Because if now we're speaking lack of follow-ups, lack of initiative, as long as you were there. But let me just bring it on us, and we speak reality. At the end of the day, they say
Very important.
man, this thing is
Very
nice. Man.
important.
You're somewhere like 5 days. I mean, you're looking at rent. You're looking at, like...
Bills are sorted.
Yeah, I have my new phone.
Leave me.
Like, to go into realistic,
Yeah.
you are there because by the end of this week, by the end of this day,
Yeah.
I am getting this much. This much in terms of monetary. Not this much in terms of maybe good policies, maybe like good recommendations, or like why for us as the youth or young people in the first place, mbono uko hapo.
Wait, I tell people this, and I am unapologetically unashamed telling people this.
And I know where you're going, but
Kula hiyo pesa.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Kula hiyo pesa. But
It's
now,
rightfully yours.
Yes, it is rightfully yours.
Yes.
Kula hiyo pesa. Hiyo pesa unapata. Eat it. But make sure whatever it is you went there to do has been done.
Has been done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if it's not been done, question the waeke meeting ingine. Ukule hiyo pesa bado and still ask
Yeah.
like what happened. You called young people to engage in something, you needed our input. We have given you our input, yet nothing has been done.
And actually, even this is where I also even want to add, like inatokea hapa, and this is why, as a young person, you should not even be afraid of asking for it, because number one,
iko kwa budget.
Skills. Yes, iko kwa budget. Number one, because atungekuwa hapo bila hiyo pesa.
Yeah.
So yo kwanza tuiweke huko juu. But number one, it's your time.
Yeah.
You could have been somewhere doing something. Number two, skills that you're bringing in place. Maybe, for instance, me, I'm doing 1, 2, 3 in terms of comms. Now, number three, experience. Because you're giving a part of you, things that you've seen, and now you're also speaking on behalf of many young people.
Yeah.
So your skill, your time, your experience. Out here, when people are looking for jobs, when people are looking for employees, what do they look for? We can mention it's the same things. It is the time that you have maybe worked on, which now can be translated into experience. And number two, the level of your skill, which can now match the level of your pay or the level of your compensation. Let me just call it compensation, because it can never be enough from just the input that young people, and just the toil that young people just put into these organizations, or just anywhere in the spaces of where they are. So meaningful youth engagement. Is it just me speaking, or kama mimi mse wa garage just fixing a car na iende, or I mean, what is rightfully meaningful youth engagement?
Meaningful youth engagement, it means that there was a problem. You needed a young person's input. The young person gave their input. You guys deliberated on it. And whatever the young person did or had the input on was considered and included, right? Because there is no way you can tell me you want to start doing something for 20-year-olds and you're 45 or 50 years old, right? And then the biggest excuse you can say is because you're young at heart. Why are you young at heart? And there's me young in body.
And at heart at the same time.
Exactly, right? So we've really been battling about this, because we can only do so much. We can only do so much, and we feel like most of the time we go into rooms talking about change, discussing about change, and yes, here promises are being made, but at the end of the day, the decision is not up to a young person.
Do you know what I feel like? You've given an example of them saying that, we're making the decisions for you because we are young at heart and we understand you guys.
We've been there.
We've been there. We
We
know
know
what
how
you're
it
saying.
goes.
In fact, you see that point that you've said. I'll just twist it a little so that it benefits you, and it's completely the opposite. And for it to be successful, and I think it marries very well with the theme for this year, that it's a conversation we have not had in the organizations. Like we are told, we know we are supposed to be meaningfully engaged, okay?
Yeah.
You might, your parent might tell you, I'm doing this because, okay, they won't tell you, they'll just do it.
Yeah.
And then they say, it's because I'm older and I feel like this was the best decision for you. Young people and older people need to say, this is what we think about you guys.
Yeah.
And this is even in organizations. And this is what you guys think about us. Then they can say, you guys, we feel like mnaongeanga za hewa. You just come and read a lot of English there, and we feel like it's a lot of things that cannot be done.
Yeah.
Then you can tell them, since you feel like tunaongea hewa, please guide us on what is achievable with the resources that we have and with like the kind of partnership that we have.
Yeah.
And you can also tell the old people, we feel like you always make the decision and you feel like you know it all.
Kuna
Sometimes
siku
just
tulisema hiyo kitu tukaambiwa
Yeah.
young people have formed a coup against us.
you see
I'm
now.
not gonna say which meeting you.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting a point there, because then we also speak for the young people that are currently being engaged, because there are not many of us, in these spaces. Recently, we were making a list where we want to have like something for East Africa. So we kidogo tu. So we were so we were trying to find out young people around East Africa who can represent sentiments for young people in East Africa, and we were looking for like notable names. Yo, I kid you not.
Jina yangu haikukuwa hapo. I'm insulted.
I am shocked and I am hurt.
What I realized is we have local heroes. I mean, yes, you're doing amazing work. Yes, you're impacting the community. But mse, bana, ni osmosis. Inajulikana tu hapo tu kwenu tu. Haijatoka nje. Iyo exposure yenye tunalipangwa nayo apparently haiko. Because if it was there, then in as much as we have like the same way ni tunafanya na devolution where we have an MCA, where we have a governor, MP, senator and then president, same way bado tungekuwa na local actors wenye wako hapo chini. Then when it comes to a young person who can speak for young people, any young person, see young person 35, you know, in as much as Kenya bado huyo ni okay, huyo ni youth but young person mwenye ni young, because when we were looking for young people, bana, we're getting people 35, people sijui 40, people 28 tuko kuendelea, and honestly clearly somehow siko baya, but they are out of touch kidogo with the current reality that there is. So you like have to go deep and find young people, but for those now, even kidogo tu but hao sasa ni wenye wajulikani na the fact that we have a gap. But those who are in these spaces, the kind of pressure that they're in, because unajua, and I want to relate it with like a black man in a white country, where if you do something, it is black people who have done it. So the same way in young people and adults' life, when you are at a certain TWG, certain organization, you fail on something, young people are failures. Young people
are very rude. But now, this is an amazing point you're making. And one thing when you mentioned about exposure, I just wanted to say that munasema, okay, wanasema hakuna mtu mwenye is that exposed, right?
But
now, anyway, it's not even wako. You will always find a way to pin them down, right?
Yes.
And one thing I've actually seen and experienced in this space is that you find that I am making bloody sense. You know, I am talking about what you told me to do. I am making change and all that. But because I called you out in this meeting, you are not going to call me in the next one.
Yeah.
Just because I'm telling you the truth. You will want someone you can control.
Yeah.
So I've been to meetings whereby I've only met this person like twice. And apparently nowadays I hear word on the street. Word on the street. You know, exactly. Is that we are not in good terms. You know, because we probably said something which was the truth and it's not what they wanted to hear. They wanted to hear something which they want to hear. So you find that they will pick someone who they can control and once they're done, we remember, we kuja tu sign. Nakuja unapata pesa yako kidogo, we sign tu hapo tu. And you do not understand. Like you find this person, I made to a meeting and then the meeting is like, so you know what you discussed in the other meeting, then person is like, isi meeting ya kwanza? So even at the point that person is not involved because they do not know what is happening. We just want someone to sign like, yes.
And the value of
a young person
actually involved.
Exactly.
Engaging a young person meaningful.
You know? So young people, as much as we really try to make impact and push for something, it's very, very hard considering our opinions are not even put in place. Right? There was some documents we were working on some time back when they like, we need young people to be involved. And the room had like 40 people who are young at heart and only 5 young people. So in my head, you hear like, okay, you need young people. This is a program for young people. Why are people who are young at heart in the program? You know, why is that ratio not rationing? You know, it needs to balance. So you find that hakuna vile tunasema we are meaningfully engaged. Mimi sitaki kusign iyo per diem. Yes, ninataka iyo pesa because it is good money, not gonna lie. But if you have to make change for a young person, make sure if you're involving a young person, let that young person feel that change. That is what meaningful engagement is. But if we're talking about meaningful youth engagement, and then we'll be having the same meeting 5 years down the line to discuss about the same problem, then there's nothing we're doing. We'll just keep on saying, oh, we need this problem to be addressed. Kuna meeting hapa sijui mnaenda 1 week and a half. But then again, after like 2 months, oh, there's the same. Nah.
And it's going to be hard.
It's exhausting.
If you want to talk about...
Yeah.
Because the whole concept of meaningful engagement is for people to work in harmony to achieve the objectives that they want.
Yeah.
If we are to talk about the harmony through meaningful engagement, then we have to be ready for those conflicts that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because now we are not here to make each other comfortable. But now because I made you uncomfortable, you want to put me out and show me that, that was an opportunity I gave you and you can't come again.
Yeah.
So I think it's high time both sides get ready for growth, and those small conflicts are what
and they're very important.
And this is now an encouragement to young people.
Yeah.
If you're not growing in that organization, or no one is rubbing your shoulder to tell you this is how you should do it, or
this is how we do it. Not this is how we this is how we do it.
I think it's not the best
because you try breaking those norms that have been there, and you are getting like
flee, you'll find a better place. And there are places where people actually grow.
And that is what I am learning. I mean, ndio wanaita exposure, but also as a young person, it's intentional. It has to be intentional. You expanding your wings and you putting yourself out there, because you might be somewhere and it is the norm. It is what you know.
Yeah.
It is like umeishi Kiambu sana, but so unadhani everywhere is like Kiambu until you go to Kondele, right smack in the middle of it, and it's a whole culture shift. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Same na for a young person, you might think whatever you're experiencing there, whatever you're getting there is what it should, until you actually expand your wings and you find that people out here actually appreciate skills. People appreciate your time, and people actually appreciate your experience and your inputs, and your voice is valued.
And they pay you really well.
And you know what's good about recognizing, there's a bit of power in showing someone that you appreciate their skill, not just the usual sign. That's very normal. After some time, I'll just get immune to the PM. But if you have places where you're saying, like in the ESE example, where they say, we had this initiative where we wanted to probably tackle the impacts of mental health about FGM and things, and they say that young people came in and did this. Mtu akikwambia ulifanya kitu, you're like, oh, I did that. I think I can do better. But if it's the norm and you're like, young people are just involved and you're just there to sign and be trained, then so again I'll repeat, if there is no growth at wewe, you are wasting your time. So you need to be very
like intentional about it. So the end of it all, like what I am getting from us is, at the end of the day, however we have been engaged, it must have an outcome. And it's an outcome that not only benefits me, myself, but a population, a demographic that I am representing, or rather that is depending on me. And then that is what we call meaningful youth engagement. So if it was a policy review or policy development, is that at the heart of that policy, you will feel and you will hear that was a youth who was sitting there. Because in some organization now you see the things that they're doing and you're like, kuna young person ako huko. That power, the oomph, the oomph that, involving young people, it has its own feel. So as a young person, it at the end of the day, it also stems to you. Yes, these opportunities are not easy to get. They're not easy to come by, in as much as they are out there. But the moment you do, also not to pressure you, because the adults as well went through a phase and they learned through their work. But the moment you are sitting in these tables, you are representing us, your fellow youth. at least make sure that we have been represented, we have been heard, we have been felt, and now we can wait for the impact so that we get impacted by the work of your hands, maybe by your voice, by your inputs, and just by how you basically represented us. And for us, when you took kwa ground, bana, don't shoot the messenger, bana. I mean, yes, you see someone making moves, don't hate on them. I mean, as much as they're getting that money, I mean, to also, yeah, to also sit there, they have also invested in their own time to also be at somewhere where they can be engaged. So if you see them doing this, kindly, at the mercy of your own heart, support them. Wapigeni shoutouts hapo online so that more policymakers, more people in places of power can note them, because then it means they can speak for you. Sindio? It means they know how to represent. So,
but the society is cold.
And then I'm saying at the mercy of their heart. I mean, at the mercy of your heart, because at the end of the day, it will also benefit you. Aki usipige uyu young person mawe. Instead, support in the best way you can. Kama ni comment, rusha. Kama ni tag, rusha. Because the moment we continue making noise, the moment we form this one body as young people, and no wonder appear in this time of election, we have been like the biggest target, because kidogo ni kama there has been an epiphany. Like young people. I mean, if we collect ourselves, and this is now message beyond sexual reproductive health, this is message beyond civil society organizations, this is message to entire Kenya. Na hata nitaisema na Kiswahili. Young people, vijana, tuungane.
I feel like pressing that button for you.
Tuungane. Because the moment we bring our minds together, the moment we have one person speaking for us, it means it's not their voice, but many voices into one. The moment we allow them, the moment we push them, there is nothing in this Kenya we cannot achieve. And for us to get there, because these young people who have the capability, who have the skills, munasema kwa spaces, umseni mkali, umseni mzi. Ikifika ni kizungu, umseni mkali. Ikifika ni content, umseni mkali. Why are you sitting on that? Talk about it. Excuse me. Talk about it. Make sure it's not just your fellow young person, ndiye anajua vile the other person ni mkali. Hata wewe jiongele. But make sure it's everyone around you. Ukisikia mahali someone is needed and someone who does ABC, you know this person. Mention that person, call that person, and make sure they went and they represented. And this, as young people, is how we will find ourselves in, unajua CAS, as in tukona PS, tukona CAS. In my view, all CASs should be young people.
I agree with you.
Sawa, weka PS kama an adult mwenye yako experienced na well versed. Yes, but for the CAS, give us a young person. Let a young person then represent our voice in that ministry. Tukatai kuna hiyo one, but give us that. Mulitupe ujama wa education, nimesahau jina yake, but we also have another one kwa ni Ministry of Youth, Gender, and something. Well, she's a lady. But the moment we have these young people representing young people, Kenya is ours.
Dogu nasimama na chama gani? That is the speech.
That was one powerful speech.
It's like,
for a moment nilikuwa is the spirit of the politician. That was
but it's making a lot of sense, Kabisa, a lot of sense, because I've firsthand experienced like my own peers bring me down themselves.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, maybe there are, but I have not met any openly gay people living with HIV, advocating for HIV. We are kama tuko siwajui. I just know myself. So unapata most of the time you get comment like, huyo anajifanya ati ojue nini. Oh, I'm like, wewe na wewe mwenyewe you have HIV, I have HIV. Nini tunaulizana? You know, I'm akuna ARVs in Kenya, and they are talking about, and I'm the best person they will call, not you, to ask about what problems are the KPs facing. And then you're out here just talking about how najifanya, you know, you unaongea na yo kizungu ya mapua and all that. I'm like,
what has the nose got to do
the
with
European
some people
stuck in
so
Kenya?
Like, this is how, by the way, guys, this is how it's talk.
It's true.
Force issues, but
yeah,
you know. So you find that we are normally shut down by our own people.
Yeah.
The people we're trying to help are the same people who are coming here to talk about things like right now we're having we are hosting a sleep out event in my organization, and it's about raising awareness for queer homelessness. And then so someone comes to the comment and then is like, if I was a homeless person, I would be so offended because you're using homelessness as a means of fundraising. I'm like, sis, have you ever been homeless? No. So then why do you speak of someone who's homeless? So unless you experience it, then don't just come here blabbing your mouth about something which you do not understand.
Yeah.
So you find that people are just out here turning people down and talking and looking down on people.
It's for your own interest.
Exactly. And I'm like, I am not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for everyone else around. You know, it's not just a one party thing. It's an all people thing. Because when it comes to like the queer community and people living with HIV who are advocating about it, most guys would feel comfortable talking to me about it because I'm out there in this space about it, other than you just looking for someone who's okay about it, right? So if you find that tuko hapa sisi wenyewe tunakanyagiana alafu tunasema we are not engaging the youth, how can we be engaged if we are the ones who are killing ourselves on the ground? You know, it's very, very difficult. It's impossible for us to even create that change, considering that the young people we're talking about to get the change from are not even appreciating it. So it becomes really, really exhausting to try and manage it, because even when you try and say like, by the way ninajua Lia nafanyanga hii, it's very hard, because if you're out here criticizing everyone and everything that people are doing out here, there's nowhere we're going, right? There is literally nowhere we're going.
True.
And that's why, you know, there's one thing, you know, why, like when Doreen says tukiendanga mkutano na Doreen, one thing, like ukisikia kwa expectations in meetings, Doreen will always say the same thing. You know, the same thing, meaningful engagement, right? Yeah. That is one thing Doreen will always say, anytime. So, ilifika point nikataka kumuuliza, why do you always say meaning? Because adiko expectation would shout to meaningful engagement, and she'll be like, yes. What is meaningful engagement? Until we get to grasp that meaningful engagement is something for all of us. Don't just call me to a place to have me sit, wear my best outfit, and then just sign nikule lunch hoteli mzuri nipige picha Instagram niweke, and then I just go home. That is not meaningful engagement. You just wanted a young person's face. You didn't want a young person's voice.
Don't use us as posters.
Exactly.
No pun intended.
For reporting
all
purposes.
taken.
You know, for reporting purposes.
Yeah.
Let's engage the young people. So you wanted young people to come. Watch young people to kuja, tuambie kuko hivi kwa ground. Because if you're talking at it from an office point of view, from a programmatic point of view, there is no bloody way we're going to get change.
Yeah.
Haiwezi kuja kabisa, haiwezi, because wewe unaangalia from data, from papers, mimi ninakwambia from what is actually happening.
On the ground.
Yes.
Linda.
So, like, you jamas, sisemi old guys, okay, nimeshasema, but let's engage the young people effectively, you know, because if we are to make it, if we are to advocate, to see the change that we want, it's going to have to come from young people. Msitukumbuke saa campaign.
Yeah.
Na saa ya kupigana watu.
Yeah.
Alafu senye kila kitu kwa sawa mnatupatia kazi mtaani. That's disrespectful. Yo, what? Chacha nisianze mambo ya kazi mtaani kasirisha tuburi. But yeah. Usitukumbuke in campaign
Yeah.
season.
When it
After
benefits you.
campaign season. Yeah.
Linda, I know you have a lot to say
I
about it.
have taken in a lot. I have been empowered today. I feel so nice. You have brought out very strong points and very, like, you have added to the information that I had regarding meaningful engagement of young people. And I think I can't say anymore. I can't add to what you have said. Tusonge nayo. We just need to have one mind, and we need to be intentional so that we grow.
Okay. So, because I am also seeing we have eaten this time with a lot of appetite, you know. Just closing, Sasa. What is like your final word? We've talked about menstruation. We've also talked about youth engagement, and we've also talked about not extensively, which I also hope we get to extensively talk about minorities as well, but also a touch of that and how it is, you know, with all that in consideration. Tufunge jamvi. Tukunje jamvi, yeah.
And we have said that the kind of environment that we live in is both local and global, right? And we have goals that have been set for our own development and for our own good.
Yeah.
And we cannot stress on the importance of being intentional towards achieving those goals that have been set at the global levels and at our local levels. So while we are speaking about meaningful and inclusive youth participation in organizations and in sustainable development, I think right now we have this podcast has empowered us enough, and even to our listeners, to be very intentional about achieving those goals and uplifting other young people, because now the development is on our hands, really, and we cannot complain that older people are leading development when we cannot take the responsibility into our own hands.
True that.
So that's all I'll have to say.
Well, first I'll have like 2 closing pointers, and first, ask, right? When it comes to periods, don't assume, just ask. Because if you are not involved growing up, we can't say just because I was a kid, I was not told about it. Ilikuwa ni ya wasichana pekee. So wasichana pekee wafanye wabaki na vitu za wasichana. You know? So it is now your obligation to know about it. Yes. Because at one point, we could be dads. And one point, we could get girls as children, right? So are you going to send that child to their aunt just because the mom, is not around and she's experiencing a period? No, you need to also have that information, right? So take it as a self-initiative to know about it. If you didn't know about it, know about it. It's for your own good. It's for the other person's good. Make them comfortable. Let's break these gender norms at here to fight. Now, let's break them and move. Now, pili, the phrase we are supposed to be killing everywhere, ni tuwe phrase, kazi kwa vijana pesa kwa wazee. Right?
Rudia tena.
Kazi kwa vijana pesa kwa wazee.
Haifai kwa hivyo.
We need to end that.
Imebound. Anyway.
Yeah, we need to end that phrase ati kazi kwa vijana pesa kwa wazee, because there is this really important meme. I think I have the words right. If I'm not, you have the concept of it, where it says old people will send young people who do not know each other to fight a war that old people who know each other well, they will send young people who do not know each other to kill one another, and then the old people will reconcile, right? That's not how things are supposed to be. Especially like right now where we're going to an election period, things are so hard. I normally hate it when something as elections, everything is just heightened because we do not know what's going to happen next. And the people who are the most vulnerable are the youth, Youth ndo tunatumika vibaya. Sisi ndo tuambiwa endeni pale mfanye vurugu yenyu and then mkuje niwapatie so punch, right? Alafu kwani punch utaikula siku ngapi in this economy?
20 minutes.
Right? Ishalipa fuliza kwanza. Yote gone.
Bila interest.
Gone, imeisha, right? So before we do things, let us think about tomorrow. Let us think about the other person. Let us be engaged in positive things. Like, let's be engaged in creating peace. Let's be engaged in creating opportunities. Let's be engaged in decision making. And that is how we are going to see ourselves grow as young people. To not only be like, aoni vijana wa siku hizi. Let's change the narrative. Let's vijana wa siku hizi have something important. Like, tukiwa na shida or tukiwa na kitu mzuri, vijana wa siku hizi tunaweza fanya aje hii? Because, I mean, it's the young people who are accumulating like 70% of the population. Not only in Kenya, but globally. Right? So, if we can be able to incorporate the young people in doing positive things that create change and impact them, then the society is going to be one step closer to becoming a better society that we all want to achieve. And thank you.
We have graced your ears. We have sung songs of empowerment and songs of change. Young people out there, we rally you all. Heed to this call and let's bring that change to our societies. Either way, you should enjoy this. You should feel blessed with this. You should feel blessed by our presence.
Malcolm X.
And let there be change. Either way. As the saying goes, this is Anything Goes podcast. Everything is went and everything is come back. My name is Lee.
My name is Linda.
Damn, Ruel, okay.
Karibuni tena next time. Farewell.